All right. Who is excited for the first keynote of the conference? Nice. Super. So, I would like to introduce to you Cristián. Cristián is a PSF fellow. He's also recently elected to the PSF board of directors. And on his spare time, he's a serial conference organizer. So he has been where we are for a few times already. He's based in Berlin. He works for a QT company. And yeah, he will have a talk today, first keynote, Beyond Hello World, from the core to you. So without further ado, a big round of applause for Cristián.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I have 200 slides prepared for you today. Now, I want to talk about many things. I try to encapsulate what is for me Python overall. Not with the usual talks, maybe. And I noticed that it means a lot of things. So bear with me. It will be a road. It will be a lot of things happening in the slides, a lot of things happening. Maybe we'll do some live coding. That I don't want you to worry about taking notes, anything. At the end, there will be a link for the slides. There are like URLs to most of the resources there. So yeah. My name is Cristián. Aris already introduced me. I was in that position as well. I was also in your position as well. For a lot of time, I was just attending some events. But then I started to notice that you can do a lot of things if you want. So this is a little bit more about the detail of it. So if you want to follow me on some social, that's my handle. It will be all the time, but you can talk to me after the conference. So sometimes in conference, people ask me or ask other people, like, how long have you been around? And I guess how many people can understand this reference? On the slides? No? I know it's unclear. The first ones are X. Does anyone know this reference? Oh, then it's a perfect audience. Everything will be new for you. Okay, one person. Don't be shy. I will ask a lot of questions, so just raise your hand. I will never ask you why. No, just raise your hand. Okay, couple of questions. So before the wheels in Python, there was X. There were packages, and I don't want to go even behind that, but everything has been evolving. Like even before the fancy way, for example, of installing things were like that. Who remember easy install? A few hands, right? An array. Who remember an array? That then it got transformed and merged into this module that you maybe don't know. It's called NumPy, but that's another story. So yeah, like Python, I also had a big migration. I am originally from Chile, on the other side of the world. I moved to Berlin like almost 11 years ago. And yeah, has been different, completely like I never planned it. I do have a lot of privilege in my life, like my parents pay for my university. I went to the university, I finished high school, and I have internet. So a lot of privilege. You might say, yeah, but that's basic. Well, the thing is not. The reality in many other countries and communities and conferences that we have been organizing has been quite different. So yeah, been living in the, why is this thing highlighted? Whoa. Oh, there. So a lot of changes there, but I noticed that independently of the continent, independently of the country, there is a lot of Python communities all over the globe. So I told you before I started, I have maybe one of the boring stories. I study computer science, boo, so I'm not an artist or architect that turned into programming. But back then I decided to start to do some tasks in the university, and I started as a system administrator. Back then, well, today it's called DevOps, but system administrator, so servers and stuff, and I started to automate things. And I was first using Bash. I guess everyone knows Bash here. Keep your hands up. So Perl. I was doing Perl before. So yeah, I mean, when a friend of mine told me, like, oh, did you read about this Python thing? I was like, what is it? They showed me, and it was really in awe how simple it was. Back then, of course, it was, I remember that, I think the first version that I used was 2.4 or 2.5. And it was terrible. I mean, installing packaging and stuff, it was like, so I just continued with my Perl, and then, of course, I regretted it, but then I switched to Python. So at some point, I decided to apply all this knowledge, which is something that I guess that Aris was trying to transmit before, like applying what you're having, or your knowledge in different communities, or maybe helping doing some stuff. And I decided to move away, and I decided to do some other studies, and I wanted to apply computer science. I was specializing in high-performance computing, but I didn't want to simulate stuff without any meaning, right? So I moved away, and I went to astrophysics, which sounds more difficult than it really is. It's just, a couple of equations and for loops, and then you see dots moving on the screen. That's it in a summary, so sorry for all the astrophysicists in the room. But that's it. And then after that, I decided that the life in academia. I don't know how many people here managed to do some PhD, maybe masters as well. Academia life is a little bit hard, I guess, as you all know. So it's finding postdoc position is like a survival game. You need to really get rid of one professor in order to get one there. So I said, let's go back to industry, and I started working as a software engineer. And as already told, I work in the Qt company. So maybe the Qt framework. Someone knows the Qt framework as well. Okay, nice. So I decided to work there, and then I got exposed to this idea of Python, but from the inside, which was completely new to me. So these are a few logos of the organizations, conference, communities that I have been related to. And this is for certain not something to brag, but most of the stories there are pure coincidence. Like I didn't envision at some point, like I want to be a moderator in PyPI. No, but it just was a chance. There was an opportunity. I said, hey, can I help with that? The same with the EuroPython Society as well. Like I was like, hey, I can help with that. And I noticed that you only need the willingness to join these initiatives and help. There is always things to do, and you don't need to be an expert on anything. You don't need to be an expert on human relationships nor programming. So our stories are different for sure, because I am certain, I hope that we have many people here that come from different backgrounds. But I believe that that's perfect. I think what is the key of the Python ecosystem is that we have people with different mindsets. It would be really boring to have a constant echo chamber everywhere, right? Like everyone agreeing with everyone, like everyone doing the same things, and then we fail, oh, we all fail, whatever. So all this debate, all this diversity and ways of thinking, it's, in my opinion, the key for what we are at the moment. So I wanted to write down this year here because before this year, where I guess many of you remember because the pandemic kind of started, that was the only thing, the good thing that happens to me, I guess, in the pandemic is that I was bored, I was at home, and I said like, man, maybe I can start helping some, stuff or doing some meetups online and joining some calls. I have no idea what they're talking about, but going there. So around, I think that it was 2018, a little before, I decided to join a meetup, a local meetup. And I literally went there. I said, hey, I want to just help. I have some time. I really like Python, so what can I do? They told me, like, well, you can arrive like 10 minutes later because we need to set up the chairs and then put back the chairs. Sure, call me. I mean, I have two hands. I can walk. I can put the chairs there. I also met many people during this period of time that they were arriving to these events or communities or conference asking for tasks. And when they were giving tasks that they were like, oh, yeah, bring the water to the speaker, they were like, no, but I mean, I have a PhD in biochemistry or whatever. Like maybe I can do the chairing because I'm really good at public speaking or whatever. So I saw a lot of people that they wanted to help in a specific way rather than just help people. So this is something important because in all the communities and conferences that I have been around, some people really go there with an idea already what they want to do, which is fine, but they do not accept that other things might be more in need than just chairing or giving talks and stuff like that. So before this time, I was literally nobody in the Python community. I was just a person that was using Python time to time and trying to put some stuff together, automate, and then little by little, I decided and I got involved. And as Aris told me, like recently got elected to the PSF Python and the Python Software Foundation Board of Directors. I never thought about it, but here I am with a lot of meetings and things to do. So I told you before that I wanted to encapsulate what is Python. And I think that the most simplistic way that in my mind, that I can envision what is Python, it's three different things. So for me, I see the code as one part, I see the community as another part, and I see a glue, an entity that lives among us that we will talk about later. So what I would like to give you now is a little overview of the three aspects of what is Python for me. Hopefully, you will be able to learn a few things. If you see things that you don't understand, don't worry about it. I mean, the notes will be there. You can ask me later. I will be here for the call conference, or you can drop me a message. It's fine. So let's start with the code. I think that's the most easy one. When learning Python, I guess everyone here got exposed of the usual like hello world, and then it was like, whoa, Python is so simple and those are amazing. But then maybe a few of you asked, like, how it is possible? What is this print thingy? Well, before it was in Python 2, it was a statement. Do we have Python 2 users here? Well, that use Python at some point too. Yeah, yay. They're lower and lower, just saying. Each conference that I go, like, the less hands are raised. So if you start wondering how these things work from the inside, right? I believe that curiosity is what can get you really far away, and not in the sense of like, yeah, learn all the assembled code of whatever like programming language, but just a little step like at a time and trying to understand what is going on, how this thing is possible. Was this print a Python function? Who thinks that that print statement is a function written in Python? Whoa. Who thinks that is a Python written, function written in another language? So some of you are curious enough to at least to have this knowledge already. As you know, in Python, there are like different implementations, both in Python and in other languages that we will talk about later. So then my idea at some point was literally, I want to submit a talk about talking about this weird internal stuff, so I will look into the code. So then surprise, you want to look into the code, which code? Which Python implementation? I guess that some of you will be familiar with one of those, at least a couple of those logos. For example, I don't know, Cinder is the fork that Instagram uses in the servers for CPython, so you probably use it when you're using Instagram to the connection. Maybe you have heard of Mojo or Codon, which are these super fast, optimized Python implementations. Who knows this logo here, the second one? No? No hands? That's, for example, some folks that not many years, a couple of years ago decided like, hey, let's rewrite Python in Rust. I have Rust Python there. So there's Jython, there is also some another, I think from Oracle, they have on there Piston for C#, MicroPython for embedded system and microcontrollers. There are a lot of Python implementations out there. I had no idea about it. I hope that now, if you didn't know, now you know. So as I told you, many Python implementations, but the standard one is called CPython. And I know you already saw C there, and you thought maybe, C, that's super complicated. I would say that really don't be scared. I'm not sure if I was lucky or unlucky, but I learned how to code in C in the university. And when moving to other high-level languages, it was a breeze. I did notice that also some people that learned Python first, when they wanted to go back, they struggle a bit more, but I'd say that it's up to each person. So as I told you, you might heard C is difficult, but Python can be difficult as well. And I'm not talking about like badly written code, but really abstraction that you might have no idea what they mean. So for the first one, keep your hands up if you can understand this sentence. Okay, keep it up. Who can understand that sentence? What is that? And who can understand that one? 3 lines are valid Python code. The 3 lines do the same. They declare a list with the different letters. If you don't believe me, you can always go home and then try it out. This is a valid Python sentence that at some point I had, I went to the rabbit hole of code golfing. I don't know if you have people familiar with code golfing, but I got into it, and then I remember that this won me for 1 character. This is the valid Python expression. I will not tell you, just put n as a number, and then you can figure out what it is. This is quite popular, so who knows this sentence? Nobody? Okay, a few hands. Don't be shy, I will never ask you to justify your answer or anything. If you can try it out, it's valid Python code. Of course, you can get creative and stuff, and this is also valid Python code. But this is from a conference that is for code obfuscation. Believe it or not, this code can calculate Fibonacci numbers. So you execute it, and then you give it a number, and then give you Fibonacci. But this is an extreme case. But you see my point, like Python or the languages in general can be both simple and can be complicated. So please never stay back, please never be afraid of saying like, oh no, I will never look into that code because it's too difficult, it's too different. There is an extra compile step, whoa, that's super weird. And so don't be afraid of things. Both languages that can be really complicated and easy at the same time. So if you are completely unaware of what C is like, I wrote this super simple, nonsensical code just for you to compare it. And on the right side, you can see like the C implementation of this super simple function, and then you have kind of like an idea of main. I believe that most of you that maybe are new to C can at least understand the implementation looking at the Python code, right? So there are a few weird things, like you see that the for there in C is a bit more complicated, that you need to do the typing first, so you're declaring the variable, and the prints are a bit weird also as well because there's an F there, and you need to have this main function in C, which is different to Python because I put it there just for the comparison, but you don't need it in Python, right? So you need to have this main function everywhere. Pointers as well also kind of like difficult to understand for some Python developers, I noticed. And again, we will not go into details and stuff, but just for you to get an idea, if someone's mentioned the word pointers at some point, let's say you have a variable, simple, integer, 42. If you want to declare a pointer to that variable reference, you do it like that. So we are symbols around the letters. And in a nutshell, what you have is that you know that the values like kind of live. You have a value and something in the memory, right? In the computer memory. So you will have an address, a big number. It's not the same. It's similar to what you get in Python when you do this ID, and then you get this weird number. Well, the idea is kind of similar. So if you want to go into more details, when C you are, for example, working with pointers, you can make something point to the reference of that thing, so you can get the value back. Or if you copy variables, also you get a different, as you see here, a different memory address for the one that was copying. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's time to wake up because, you know, C pointers, complicated. But that's it. So don't be afraid if you see this stuff. It's just memory values, whatever. It's not so tricky. So now with all this knowledge, now already you're an expert in C, we can jump together to the code. So the first thing that I tried to do when I was managed to understand what was going on is that to use a debugger for it. I'm saying it like I know a lot. I am super noob at GDB. I just know it and run stuff and do some breaks and that's it. But I thought, okay, Python, it's a C program, so yeah, I can debug it with GDB. So I can do something like this. And I told you before that there is a function that always exists in C programs, which is called main. So I will say, let's find main. And then let's write Python. Oh, we need to download some stuff. There we found something. That's the main of Python. Simple, right? Well, there's another function there called bytes main. So I need to do again, and then try to find, I don't know if I need to rerun it again, but let's rerun it. Then you have the thing, but then you have the bytes main. And surprise, that main function called another main function. Now the next 45 minutes of the talk is that we will continue trying to find. Now let's do this last one. So let's rerun it again. So we know that it's by main, and again, and then you have, and that's called by main init. Okay, so we can continue here over and over. And I was a bit disappointed when I found it because I was expecting, you know, this magnificent one single function that explained everything. Well, back then it was similar like that. How many of you have looked into some C Python code? I not understand. Look inside, like the C eval.c, whatever. Okay, we have a few hands. Before, well, I said maybe 3.6, 3.8. It was really entertaining to go to the code because you could see the main loop of Python. You can see like what happened when there's an add operation. What happened when there is a while? What happened? So you had a huge, like, maybe you're familiar with the match case in Python, a huge kind of like match case scenario when all the cases, so everything is happening. So it's just a little bit easy to understand. But even in times of Python 2, you could really search for GIL, for example, and then you could see a comment that was this is the GIL of Python. There was a variable, so you can track it down. And yeah, so there was kind of like very simple. And for this talk, since I have been talking about these topics for some time, I thought, okay, easy. I reuse the slides. They believe that it's a new prepared keynote. And then I noticed that many things have changed. So this is something that also I would like to take some time now to talk a little about, the change. Python is a compiled language. Some people say, well, no, it's not. Well, it is inside, because the compiled kind of idea that we have in our minds from the older languages is that you execute something with your code, you generate an executable, and then you execute it. But that's not the way to compile things. So as you know, in Python, you have this code, you have a process that I will try to highlight here with different steps, and then you need to make sure that that thing is understood, and then you make it into some magical virtual machine inside Python that execute that code. So yes, you compile Python, but not to create binaries that you are used to in the other languages. I here put a star because, as I told you, many of you are maybe are super familiar with this process, but I'm not sure if you got the memo and have seen all the changes that happened lately. I will try to mention a few, but yeah. So I noticed, for example, the first thing is that now documentation lives in a Git repository when some of the core developers are writing some thoughts and stuff there, very useful. The steps for this compilation process, when your Python code is there, you start to do some tokenization. That is like you transforming this text into words, then you do some parsing to get the semantics of the words, the abstract syntax tree, then you get the structure of the semantics. Then now, this is kind of new, then you build a flow graph, which is kind of like trying to control what you can optimize from this code. And then you have your bytecode that will be executed inside the virtual machine. Sounds weird, I know, bear with me, but we will only have a few slides try to explain them. Tokenizing, the most simple one, you can get this for free. So you just have this difficult expression, you kind of tokenize it in a way, and you can get all that thing. So Python is already has, of course, some built-ins that will say you like, oh, that's a name, that's an operation, that's a number, whatever, whatever. So you get that. Second one, parsing. So grammar in programming language is a little bit tricky as well. There are like many type of grammars. Python, just for your information, so if tomorrow you're in a quiz or something, you know that EB and F and PEG are the ones that Python uses. And just in that, it's only about, as you know, grammar is just the structure of how things need to work. Why I cannot put if, colon, and then the condition, but it needs to be if, condition, and then colon. All these kind of like details of the language are explained in the grammar. This is only a small snippet. The file is huge. And then you have also about the lexical analysis of this. Then you have the abstract syntax tree that it's something that will help you to have a definition of all the entities that you have in your code. For example, the expression, we know that we have like Boolean operations, name expression, binary operation, whatever, whatever. And then Python rely on that ASDL, the Zephyr one. And then you can even get it from Python as well. You can get the AST module to dump the structure of your code. Has anyone like used the AST code at some point just to see what? Okay, a few hands. So then you can do this. You don't need to be a hacker or anything. Just go there, put your code, and oh, so I didn't know that. You know, this is how the way they are structured, right? Flow graph. This is one of the new parts, and I think that maybe not many people here know. Who many people know that flow graph step? Can tell me no? Okay, so this is kind of new. It's maybe a little bit tricky to understand. I will try to summarize it in a way that at least you can get the idea and then you can explore by your own. So the flow graph step is that we used to have before like the bytecode already that you can graph and put it into the virtual machine. So then now there is this middle step, which is creating this graph that will have some instruction optimization based on the bytecode that you have in your Python code. That means that when you have a, let's say, a binary operation, which is a bytecode, valid bytecode, that will be split into smaller operations, and those smaller operations then will be like packed everyone together, and then a smart processor will say, we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need that. So you reduce the bytecode instructions, and then your code get faster. So this is what people have been working there. As I told you before, just for an idea, now currently if you have this bytecode, it can transform into the second one, and this is only one of the many bytecodes, so you can see that there's some place for optimization. So that's really good, as I told you before, because then you have smaller bytecode instruction, and then it can make that your code is super optimized. Okay, that was one of the dense parts, so we are over that. So and then when you have this optimized bytecode, then you can do something that can literally send something to the Python virtual machine. For example, if you have this is the bytecode. This is not the optimized bytecode, but just the bytecode, and then Python will understand because it's stack-based. Go in there, popping values, calculations and stuff, and that's what you have the bytecode for the thing. Okay. Was it good enough? Is it clear? We have a quiz now? No, we don't have a quiz. So then my question was, is that all that is happening there? And then I told you about this flow graph that is a new thing. So it's not all. Who have heard about the faster CPython project, initiative, I don't know, cult, I don't know how to call it. Okay, a few people. So a long time ago, I don't know, maybe a couple of years, there was an email on the mailing list that for someone that said like, I can make Python faster, this is my plan, I need a company to fund me. And I was like, whoa, rude. And then, but then I noticed there was a really knowledgeable person. He has a really good structured plan. He is a really senior developer for many years now. And then I started to read the notes, and it was a lot of things that made a lot of sense. I want to summarize it to you, like kind of like what were the idea of this project, not in technical terms, but you get what was the whole thing about. So the proposal, oh my God, there's a typo on my slide. You saw it already? I cannot unsee it now. And of C, Python. There were like, initially I think there are 3 or 4 tiers of optimizations. And I was like, interesting. So they decided to define this kind of like a warmest of a code, meaning that what are the pieces of your code, or more specifically also in the bytecode, that gets executed the most. So once you detect that, you can try to spread that a little bit, optimize, and then try to do get faster code. So they then had a second step for that. When the first one was, pre like optimizations steps, but then they had, okay, let's now try to do and tackle this hard code without a lot of intervention and whatever. And then in the third one, they say, okay, with the harder code, now we do more experimentation of more stuff there. So this sounds silly, but if you think about it, moving something as big as Python or CPython to start to introduce this optimization is something that is super hard because you need to change almost everything. So that was what I was telling you before, that if you have been following the developing, I really recommend you to read what's new in the Python for each version. In super simple terms, like in 3.11, for example, there was this specialization of adapted interpreter, and it was related to the bytecode that I told you before. Python now was smart enough to say, oh, you have a for loop with 2 variables summing up, and they're always integers. Instead of doing binary add, which I need to know which type they are before putting them together, after a couple of iterations when the code is warmer, and then you will say, but this is always integer, so I will specialize that into an integer, and then you get a little bit performance. So little by little, all the smart people that is working on this started to optimize Python. That's why we have been getting all this optimization lately. In 3.12, there was again another thing that was to change the DSL. So then you had a different abstraction for all these things that we were talking before, the ADSL kind of step. So you can even change some statement in the runtime, following again the conditions and the code that you had there. And then last but not least, maybe you have been, who is using 3.13 here? Nobody's using 3.13? Come on, it's already like out for almost a month. I mean, you laughed, but working in open source project, I mean, the moment that the thing was out, I told my team, don't worry, nobody will use right away, and they will not try to install it, like bug reports. 3.13 is not compatible. 3.13 was out yesterday, so please add support to it. And I was, But yeah, so people do that. So then in 3.13, you see this micro operation interpreter optimization. Sounds really good. So this is what is currently, I think, at the latest that has been done there, that this splitting of the bytecode is not really a simple step. There are like many steps. I am not involved in this. I am not an expert in this, but some people are, and I recommend you that to watch this Brand Butcher, I don't know, talk from the PyCon US this year. It's super interesting. You will understand lots of detail. He also showed there some code, and you can see what is going on. But in a nutshell, what he tried to explain before jumping into the thing that he is doing, which is implementing a just-in-time compiler for Python. So you grab the bytecode, then you have this specialized code, then you do some micro operation traces to select where will be the header code, and then you do the optimized micro operations. Super weird. I really recommend you to watch the talk. It's super informative as well, but it's not weird, it's informative. And you will learn a lot of what is going on there, because you see, like, people tell, oh yeah, Python is getting faster. Yeah, but why? I know they're optimizing things, but what they're optimizing. So now you know. At least you know, or can remember, the bytecode now gets spread and then split in different parts, they remove stuff, and then you get faster code. Easy. So this is maybe how you're feeling at the moment, like all these things I have no idea how to even like talk about. So how can you even like start touching all these internals of the code with all these details and stuff like that? I know it's complicated, and it's a complex process and requires practice and experience. But if you're like me, you can be really impatient and maybe have this approach of like just starts changing things and then everything explode. And I really recommend you to do this. I mean, it's safe because it's your computer, but if you don't know what things do, remove them, change them, try to compile. Python is super easy to compile. If you download the code and you're in Unix, is configure and then make, that's it. If you're on Windows, maybe there are like many steps, but I don't know. And just do it. I mean, just start playing around with it. And this is something that I started to play with myself. And I noticed that it's really rewarding because then you can learn one specific detail of something that maybe nobody is aware. And then you can have lighting talk about it. And then this lighting talk can evolve and you have a conference talk. And maybe at some point you will be like super, chill on a Sunday, and then someone organizer can send you a message on Discord saying like, hey, do you want to keynote in PyCon Sweden? And I was like, sure. So then you have the opportunities out there. Just download the code, start modifying stuff, and do things. So now let's hammer some Python code, so at least you can see some details that are really strange, in my opinion, that you can discover by just looking inside. So normal Python, nothing to see here. The first thing that I noticed when I was discovering this is that many people don't know that when you have, let's say, something super complicated. Wow. Okay, are we all good? Yeah, okay, everyone know. What if you start doing weird things like, for example, like this? How many people knows what happened there? A few hands. Don't be afraid, I will not ask you. You raise your hand. No, I will not ask you. So what is happening is that you get infinite references there. And then you get this weird thing, which is the ellipses. Did you know the ellipses? But it's there. Super weird. And then you start looking into more details, and then you can see why we learn things that they are. Maybe you also learn that, I don't know, like when you have this list, and then you want to append. Oh, I hate where append is so long. You can still have, but you can maybe do add. You still get if you want like shorter things. I don't know. You learn all this kind of like details of stuff. There is something they really hate as well that I guess that everyone here is familiar with sets, right? So you have this set. No, let's declare a more difficult set. Whoa. How do you add a new number to the set? Like this, right? How do you add a set to a set? Can someone shout it, maybe? Brave enough? Sorry? With plus, you can concatenate that. So I always got confused, to be honest. And I always was saying, like, because the first thing that I try is that I have my set, and then I said, add. Yeah, but add the other. You cannot use that. But then I noticed that you have some manners. If you can add it depending of whatever you do, right? So there are a lot of implementation details that I really invite you to know. Like, I don't know, you're familiar with all the, I don't know, errors. Like you have a dictionary and then you want to add so this and then you get the key error. Then you have like access value and you have value error. But there is something, do we have any mathematicians in the room? Or at least, okay, a few. So what is the value of 0 divided by 0? 42? Well, I tried. I don't know if this, but it's a really weird thing that then you start getting into matrix stuff, but yeah. So there's all these implementation details, and if you don't have time, I guess that what also you can do is that you can do some abstraction of the main element of Python. Python has all over the place some structures in C called PyObject, which is you can get an abstraction which is object. You can read well, right? Okay. And then you can get an object, which is the most base kind of like object that you can have in Python. Everything kind of inherits from it, and then you can see and get information from it. So I thought, how do you get information from a Python object? So maybe you know that you can list, for example, all the available methods that an object has, right? And then you get all those methods. And then I thought, if I have a question about implementation, well, there is an ask function. You can ask a Python option thing. So I said, okay, well, weird enough. Let's try to ask, I don't know, we can do like, so you can get the name, or you can, I don't know. Okay, so you can get all these things. And then, I don't know, I started to get freaked out because with all this LLM, AI, whatever, like I needed to, of course, do But then I noticed that, of course, you cannot continue when at least it's noticed that you are doing weird stuff. And then, but one of those conversations that I don't want to bore you here is that we also claim in Python that a lot of stuff about internationalization and stuff like that. The documentation is quite good. I really invite you all to look into documentation stuff and look. And I thought, is Python compatible with other languages? I don't know. But we are in Sweden, so I thought maybe there are some like Swedish words that you can use. I don't know. I don't know anything about the language. I'm really sorry, but I wrote down a few Swedish words that we can prove, and you can tell me if do we have Swedish native speakers here, so they can. Okay, good. So I read that there is this word, like I don't know what it means, but I guess that it would be something about it. Or you can also do. You also get things, so I guess that those were like and or something like that. And I said, but okay, let's now do some boring thing. Then you can do, I don't know, some type of loops. So I thought, what if I do that and I try to learn like how to write this, but I need it's a while, so I will need a condition. So maybe we can do like I don't even know what I am writing. Like with this ones, of course, we need to write, but then at some point we need to like break or something. I don't even know if this thing will execute, but if you have that, I don't know if it will not work. It's a for loop. So yeah, it seems that there's valid Python code, so we can like maybe I don't know, just print stuff, and then let's do it like just break. I failed. I think that like that, no? No. It's one T? Or it's no T? Oh yeah, it was one T. So did you know that you could code in Python with using Swedish language? I didn't know. These are all the things that you can learn. And but yeah, I mean, besides the joke of this thing, you might think like, oh, the guy that translated Python, it's so amazing. It's very simple. And I want to encourage you to maybe after the talk or during the conference, we can talk about, I can show you the code, you can see, seriously, like that's only the thing. So modifying things in CPython is easier. Adding new things is the complicated thing, right? So you can play around with this thing. I mean, nobody outside this room knows. This code will be open source. You can grab it tomorrow, present it in the local meetup, and be like, oh, this guy. All the things as you know. So all these things you can learn while looking into the code. Because literally what I was doing while learning on this process, go there, see the code, modify a little bit, what if, and then start to do crazy things, and everything is there. You can open many doors for you to understand. So I hope that was not too dense. We didn't go into many internals. I would love to continue working on all the details. Maybe if we have time, I don't think we will have time, but if we have time, we might kind of jump into all the implementation, or we can have a discussion with some coffee, and I can show you how the magic is. So if you want to contribute to the code that makes Python greater, there are many resources. The developer guide is super cool. I encourage you to check it out. You can start by triaging bugs, and this is something that at least many people recommend just to get used to it and stuff. Documentation is something also you can do as well. Contribute to infrastructure or approach involve people. If you think that you can go into the in the GitHub of CPython, grab a random bug, fix it, and be your first contribution, I really not encourage you to do that, because most of the bugs that are still open are difficult bugs and might take you a lot of time. You might not understand things. You might get into, I don't know, heated discussion because they don't understand why your solution is. I don't recommend that approach. Maybe for you it works, but I think it is better to either try to try bugs and maybe approach involve people like core developers if they have some time for you to ask for little tasks for them to do, because it's really difficult to jump alone into trying to fix and get your first contribution. But documentation is valuable as well. I really encourage and tell people this. Documentation is a part and essential for the programming languages. Without documentation, Python will be a terrible language, in my opinion. So do not think that, oh, but I just contribute some fixes to the documentation. Don't throw yourself down there. It's a contribution to Python. Doesn't matter if it's code, it's just a typo, it's whatever. You are contributing to the project. So don't take anyone take that from you. So the second aspect here for the, I guess that this will take maybe like 15 minutes, is the community. We will go a little bit faster. So for the current state of Python, you might have heard, like lately in social media, there was a lot of like discussion and stuff because in GitHub Universe, there was this plot announced, and then all the Python programmers were like, yeah, JavaScript programmers were like, meh. But then you see that Python now, it's the most like widely used programming language in Git repositories, right? You even saw like they share like this growing kind of rate compared to last year, and you can see like, well, Python is still leading. So some of you might argue like, yeah, GitHub Universe, I don't use GitHub, I use GitLab or whatever. Well, then you have the JetBrains server. And I said, we can check that, even though Python is not the first place. We can see how it's growing and how important it is for the whole community. But again, you can tell me, no, but JetBrains, they do some campaign. We do some campaign with JetBrains with the PSF. And that's why we get more Python responses. Fair enough. You can go to Stack Overflow. I guess that also you know, for all the respondents, you still see Python there in the number 3. But you will say, yeah, but Stack Overflow is full of noobs, so no professional developers that read the documentation. If you go to the professional developer section, there's also Python there in the 4th place, so this is still around. And if you said nobody uses Stack Overflow anymore, it's fine. I can show you, well, this is the desired one, but the TOB index, which is something a little bit more formal that measures stuff about people searching for certain programming languages, questions in different platforms, search engines, whatever, you still see Python there. I don't know any other survey that doesn't show Python in the first places. So Python is not a programming language for people starting to code, and then we have like millions of people starting to code. It's not like just a basic language, whatever you then learn the hardcore things. It's used everywhere. I really encourage you to have the opportunity to go to large Python conferences. Ask all the sponsors. I'm certain that at least Python is being used in all the big companies, tech companies out there. Is always Python stack. So it's everywhere, really. I mean, it's not only an static thing. You can see also the community aspects from the meetup network that the Python Software Foundation has. All the red dots are meetups, are official ones. There are other platforms as well. Maybe you don't like Meetup, but there are other platforms that also use it. And also the Python conference is a really important part of the community, part of the thing. These are all the countries that I got from pycon.org. If you go there, you see the list that I noticed that they are doing some Python conferences as well. This is an excellent, like this, time to know what is the latest with Python, what are these weird bytecode thingy that the speaker told in the morning, and what are the next steps for the getting Python faster and all these kind of things are the perfect moments to learn these things. So there are even meta conferences in the world. Maybe you're familiar with your Python. Every quarterly invited there, and a European conference. Then you have the APAC, for the APAC region. You have the Africa conference, and even you have a Latin American conference as well. So you even if you don't like, I mean, if you want to go really big, but in your own region, you have many options as well to just go there, speak with people, and learn what is the latest things, and nurture the community aspects that we always like value. PyLadies. PyLadies is an initiative that is really amazing. I was really happy to see that there is a booth here today. You might think, well, yeah, but that's for women. It's not. PyLadies is an initiative that is trying to empower diversity and trying to focus on underrepresented groups of people. Different PyLadies chapters might have different rules, different way of being organized. But for example, I am one of the people helping in the PyLadies Berlin chapter. And you would think, but you're a man. I said, yes, you can help, and it's fine. I mean, if you know how to be around human beings, you can help any initiative. If you don't know, then of course there's a problem everywhere that you go, but there are many of these initiatives willing to help, and you can help like in the most simple ways. You can always give them a hand, like, oh, I can fix this typo on the website. I can help you with, moving some chairs. So I told you this story before. There's always things to do. So PyLadies is, for me, it's not an initiative that is only for women. It's an initiative that was started for women to try to empower underrepresented groups. And here, maybe many of you, as myself, are not originally from this country, or are migrating there. You might become a minority in that country, and groups like this can really help you to be around people. So I really encourage you to support your local PyLadies chapters, and also if there is none in your city, maybe ask around. Also, one of the things that I do, I'm helping with the PyLadies conference. We will have it in December as well. Maria Jose is also organizer, so if you want to approach her to have questions about PyLadies chapters and stuff, please bring it up. But the beating heart, at least for me, has been always, like organization-wise, the Python Software Foundation. I'm not saying this because I get a check every month of $0 USD, but it, for me, I think is the most essential part of the Python community and why we are succeeding and why we see, sadly, for example, other programming languages foundations going into some struggles, some issues with trademarks and stuff. I don't want to mention the programming language, but you know which one it is. And it's an essential thing. It's really started by people that were not even paid, so super cool. I don't want to bore you with the mission, but at least you know it's a promote the Python language itself. It's a non-profit organization. We do have an executive director, which is Deb Nicholson, amazing person. We do have the board directors. I didn't want to put the picture of everyone there, but there are 12 people there as well. You have one leader here, Kushal. We have the steering council, which is the 5 entities that are like see the development of the Python code, which is part of the PSF. But also we have employed staff. We only have 12 people. You will say 12? That's more than my team in my startup. And then it's still not enough people. These people is in charge of doing a lot of stuff. And if we start to like mention them all, we will like get bored after a couple of minutes. So one of the things that we do on the infrastructure side is like we are the people responsible for Python.org, PyPI, all the whole infrastructure, the amount of petabytes that are in, moving around in PyPI, it's crazy, really, really. You see, like, yeah, pip install, whatever, but the amount of people that right now is doing pip install, I don't know, NumPy, it's, wow. It's, if you see the numbers, you will be really, intellectual property. Sometimes we see, recently I saw a report by someone that there was a university somewhere that was using the Python logo with different colors as the logo of the university, and I was like, what? So all these things are taking care of the language and the community. And the community support. PyConUS is a huge event. How many people here has been in PyConUS at some point? Perfect. If you haven't, please do. There are grants. If you submit a talk, the CFP is open. So yeah, I mean, that's an announcement because I'm also involved in PyConUS. Submit your talk. And it's a really an amazing experience. There are thousands of people there. Everyone likes Python. And something that I noticed, I come from other languages. I have been in, I will not name the languages. I have been in conference from other languages, and I really don't feel comfortable. I really don't feel that I can approach you and talk like, hey, what do you use in Python? No, I don't know what is it. I don't know if it's the vibe. I don't know if it's the aura of people. I don't know, but it's something that really doesn't make me comfortable. I go to most of my Python conference, sometimes to give talk, but to hang out with people because I have been talking with people that are like, they have no degrees, they're dropouts, and they're working in some startup. I've talked with people that are super staff engineers in Facebook or Google or whatever, and they're all like super chill, they're all approachable. Nobody's hiding, nobody's like walking around like looking at over the shoulder or something. They're super open to everyone. And some people say, yeah, but some people it looks weird. It's because a lot of people also is super shy. It's not that they're trying to avoid you. They learned also in the hard way, but it's super, it's special. And I know I might be biased because of all the experience that I have, but I really encourage you to at least experience, if you can, maybe you're a Python and then after PyConUS. It's a really beautiful experience, and I'm certain you will get motivated to do more stuff. We do have some monthly office hours for if you have questions to the board of directors or for the grants committee, for all the help that the PSF supports. You can check the URL later, but that's for any questions you have. Oh, I want to do a workshop. Do you know that you can get paid if you organize a Python workshop? Now you know. So some stuff like that. So if you can, maybe you can join and just see some stuff. So yes, in a nutshell, the PSF board, we are trying to oversee everything that the foundation is doing, like the mission is fulfilled, finances, the direction, the governance, and everything. And this is usually our 3 main pillars: governance, mission support, and advocacy. Most of our board directors, we go around, we talk about the PSF, and well, kind of like what I'm doing right now, mainly to get you aware, mainly to get to help other people, because as I said, it's not that we are getting an economical benefit or anything, we just do it, just because it's nice. If you're interested in working, maybe you can start small, but still, if you want to jump into right away into working groups, there are many working groups that the PSF is organizing, and if you have interest in any one of those, we can talk later, you can check the URL, but there are many who will be really willing to have your commitment there to be helped. Membership, who here is a PSF member in general, even the basic one. Oh, beautiful. So now we'll take the next 5 minutes. Now, There are many types, and what I wanted to encourage this is that the most important for me is the self-certified contribution. And this is for free. So raise your hand if you have contributed 5 hours per month to a Python initiative, community, conference, not your personal project, of course, but some contributor. Who has contributed this thing? At least 5 hours per month. All your hands if you're not a member, please do it right now. It's super, you can get a lot of information there, but most importantly, you can vote for the next board of directors persons. There is a process that sometimes people don't know, but like literally, please, I hope this is not being recorded, but if you really like someone from here, and this someone like says like, oh yeah, I want to run for the board, and you all love that person, and you all vote, I'm certain that person will get elected. Because people don't think that it's like, the normal elections in countries, like, yeah, no, if I vote, whatever, but it really makes a difference. The last elections, I got elected by 3 votes. Not like in total, of course, by the difference, by the difference with the next candidate, it was 3 votes, I think. Yeah, or 4. So it was, what? Like really like the difference is so little. So please do it. Get involved into community. Once you have your 5 hours per month, get registered, and surprise, now you can vote. So now at the beginning, I only have like I think a few minutes to finish. I will need to skip the last part, but I'm certain that we can talk about later. Is that the code of conduct for me is super important. At the beginning, I was one of those people that when I was in university, like, yeah, who needs a code of conduct? Everyone knows how to behave. Not everyone knows how to behave. And something that I don't recommend, moderating Telegram groups, Discord servers with thousands of people, it's really a stressful thing. So hopefully you can canalize that and do something better. But we need code of conducts everywhere. People don't know, they don't know the limits. They have different stories. You have, come from a different family, background, whatever. So you will not properly behave. And so you need to set the tone. You need to have an entity that checks this. And I had a personal issue as well. At some point is that back in South America, we had a community with some issues that were happening. And then the code of conduct committee was the same as the organizers. And when the organizer had an issue, it was like, yeah, no. But I mean, you need an entity that is separate, The PSF sometimes provide trainings for that. So you can have, a couple of groups that you trust from your community that are the code of conduct overseeing the organization so you don't have this negative feedback. But it's very important. So please, if you are one of those, like, yeah, code of conduct, it's very important. Maybe now you haven't been affected. At some point you will be, I hope not. But this is something, the only way that we have to deal with it. So sadly, we don't have a lot of time, but I will try to be super quick here with maybe Iris. We will have 5 minutes for questions, but we still have 5 minutes. The other ways of expanding the community is, in my opinion, are extending the community. And this is also a topic that is really dear to my heart because we know that Python can be extended. So having a C implementation is very convenient for everyone because we have a nice way of connecting to all the other languages. That amount of code is NumPy, PyTorch, TensorFlow, and Graph. You see the percentage of the languages of those projects. So we are interacting with other languages. And also at work, I work at Qt, so we expose this huge C++ framework into the PySide module, so we're exposing all the C++ into that. And it's an amazing thing, because then you are bringing another community together, right? So now at least everyone, or most of people in the Qt company is aware of Python, the community development stuff. So it's a beautiful thing. I always like to put this code in the slides, because sometimes people talk about extensions in C. This is how simple it is to write a Python extension in C. So literally you can later take the link, copy it, execute it, and then you have your first C extension. But of course you need to write everything by hand. There are many generations out there, and depending on the language you like, you can use the ones. So if you like C++, for example, you can use this PyBind 11. Super simple as well, but you need to add some stuff in your code. If you don't like to do that, this is one of the binding generations that I work with in my company, Shiboken. If you want to use Qt, you can have it separately. You can generate a binding for that in Python. And now, of course, we need to talk about Rust. So this is also a new community that we are bringing, as you know, the whole safer code, faster code. Be mindful with comparison. I still see people everywhere that say, what? They rewrote that Python code in Rust and it's faster? And there's like, of course it's faster. You're comparing like pears with apples. So Rust is an amazing language. I really like it. I use it for a couple of projects. But let's not be unfair when comparing things. Is this bringing joy into the Python community? Yes. Are you being benefit? Yes. But don't say, yeah, because it's faster. You can write it in C++ and C and it will be faster. There are many projects out there for you to check. The people in Astral are doing an amazing job with all this stuff. So if you haven't heard about this, I'm pretty sure you have, but if you haven't, check them out. Amazing projects and improving a lot of things. This is how simple it is to write a Rust extension for Python with PyR3. I always try to put it because I believe the API is beautiful and it's super simple. So you can, get again your next Python module written in Rust, be famous, get likes on Twitter or whatever. And it's super simple, so I encourage you to check it out. You don't need to be a Rust programmer to check this example out. Just follow the instruction and then, whoa, you make it. And maybe, again, you can have a talk. And you can learn more. You can bring it to your company, to your studies, to your own projects. It's super beneficial. And also what I will say, I know we follow trends, but don't forget other languages. There's another language that I really like. Maybe some of you have heard. Who knows SIG here? Okay, cool. It's an amazing language. I mean, for C, for a successor of C, in my opinion, amazing. It also has successor, super simple, even simpler than before. You have a SIG-based Python extension. So check them out. And now, for the last 2 minutes, I promise, the glue part. So supporting the ecosystem for me in a non-technical or technical way is what is the glue of my Python definition. Some of the activities of this glue entity is helping the local communities, helping others reaching their levels. Something that I take a lot of joy into it, and I don't say like you want to say, oh, so nice this guy. No, but I do it. When I learn something new, I really need to tell everyone about it stuff. Like the jokes that I just did with Python, for example. I really love to tell these people because I know the joy that silly things can bring. Helping others it's an amazing thing. Then pushing the changes that you want to see. You don't like how things work somewhere? Join the organization, join the community, try to fix them, but do not only have opinions. Everyone here has an opinion, but I don't know how many of you will have an opinion that will do work for changing it. So this is super important as well. So why the glue is different from the community, I believe it's because there is like a couple of issues with the glue definition of Python. Most of the glue in the Python ecosystem is people that you don't know. Many things are happening here. Maybe you know Aris because he was here. But do you know each one of the organizers of the conference? You know, they're humans as well, believe it or not. And they might have, stories, lives, problems, whatever, passions and things. Many people don't know them. And we usually are used to know the famous people, right? The people in boards and communities, in the organizers, whatever. But the whole glue part of the Python ecosystem is those people that you don't know, and they're making everything that works. But here also you have shooting stars, which is a problem that I was told many years ago. Sometimes we see people, and this is for the organization of this conference, we see people that are doing really good. Let's give that person more work. Okay, yeah, no, do even greater. Maybe they will use that person in this other community and more work. And then you have these shooting stars. And then at some point, poof, what happened? So you need to be careful. If you're doing good, what your contributions and stuff, please take it slowly and do not burn yourself. So Python needs people with different backgrounds, in my opinion, with new ideas and motivation to do things rather than just state an opinion somewhere. And that people can probably be you. I hope that at least after all the discussion with the silly things of technical aspect of Community 1, you can join this glue entity of the Python ecosystem to make an even greater ecosystem. And that was my talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
55 minutes.
Right on time. Thank you so much. We have time for a couple of questions. I have a lot, but I will ask them later. So if anyone has a question, please raise your hand. We have a microphone.
I mean, 55 minutes, I know most of you will be like, oh my God, I want a coffee or something like that. I will be around and feel the pressure to ask them now. You can approach me later. But yeah, in case there is one question, maybe you...
Yeah, we have a couple of minutes. So if there are any questions, just please raise your hand for Cristián.
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah, I'm not super a Python expert, but there's something like I've been talking about with my colleague. That's a bit like comparing strong type languages to like non-strong type languages. And you were talking about like optimizing Python, but is there any benefit of potentially including like strong typed options in Python?
Yeah, I think there is always option. The problem is that what I told before, I guess that many people will be keen to do that, but there's like the amount of work that you need to do for that will be huge. And if you add strong typing after some version, you might break stuff. You know, maybe all the discussion that happened lately with the removal of the GIL, that also causing like, is that Python 4 kind of thing? So with that introduction, you saw what happened with JavaScript, right? They introduced so strong typed, and then what happened? Well, TypeScript was one. So I don't see it happening within Python, but I do see programming languages basing on Python that might introduce that feature.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a simple question. One word, why do you use Python?
Why do I use Python? Because I like it and it's simple.
Thanks.
And you can do silly things and silly talks in conference about it.
Do we have any more questions before the coffee break? We have, yeah.
How would you say a good way would be for a company to start contributing to the Python ecosystem?
You mean how to convince the company?
Yeah, and where to start? Is it the PSF or?
Yeah, in the PSF itself, there is no support, but you can do, there are many companies that are doing it. What usually depends, of course, how the managers in your company work, but if you show them maybe the plots, they will say, yes, we need to do the Python, you know, kind of thing, and they might give you some free time. At least we have an agreement, at least in my company, we have an agreement that if you want to contribute to open source project, you can spend maybe your Fridays afternoons to do that as a first step, and if you see that you are becoming a key member in that, you get a lot of perks on that. So I'd say that you need to show the numbers. I mean, I know we are in a Python conference, but we cannot neglect that Python is literally everywhere. And even if your code base is in another language, having a Python interface open your product into a completely new community. So I guess that showing the numbers might be the only strategy to do. Or you can go work with Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and they have their own Python teams.
Yep, thank you. And you can always support the local conferences as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Cristián will be around if you have more questions for him. Yeah, a big round of applause. Thank you so much.